Separated by cosmic cabinets, Brandon, Paul, and Logan are broadcasting the Breakdown Podcast live using their telepathic powers. My name is Brandon Miracle, broadcasting live from the Break Room Arcade. If you look south of me in the video version, you'll see the wonderful face of Paul Anderson broadcasting live from the Break Room Clubhouse. If you look to the right of me in the video version, you'll see the wonderful face of Logan Welliver getting way too close for comfort, broadcasting live from the Break Room bedroom. This is episode 27 of the Breakdown Podcast. Recorded live on August 20th, 2018. We've got a lot to talk about today, but before we get into that, I'm going to throw it to Logan to introduce our guest.
Yes, we have a very special guest on today. This is an acquaintance of mine, Devin Larson. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you for having me.
So Devin is on here for several reasons. One of the reasons is because I asked him to be. The other reason is he does some really, really cool things, and we wanted to highlight that because, I mean, why would you not highlight good content? I mean, that's what we do here. So thank you so much, Devin, for coming onto the show. And I mean, maybe we can just start. You can introduce yourself and tell us what you do.
So to start off, I am a programmer before an artist, but I am definitely an artist. So most of my art comes from just knowing how to program, or lack thereof, technically. So I do make video games, and I make interactive art. That's my big thing right now. I have worked with augmented reality and virtual reality, and behind all of that, I've done glitch art and very, very strange avant-garde digital art. So of course I've learned with Photoshop. The very first time I've ever actually did anything digital, I actually started with photography, and a file corrupted, and I wanted to fix it. So I learned how to fix it by actually going into the hex code and trying to figure out where something went wrong. I just made things worse, and it turned into glitch art. I looked it up because I was really amazed by all the crazy colors and patterns that were going on, and found out other artists do it. And ever since then, I've always wanted to learn why digital files act the way they do and how they do.
Can we take a moment to mention how your foray into digital glitch art is the equivalent of a superhero origin story?
It's like Spider-Man getting bit by the spider?
That's exactly what I was thinking about. It just manifested from this, I guess you could call it a freak accident.
Yeah, it's not like you could have anticipated that would happen. It would have taken you down this road, you know. You could have done nothing with it, but
That's true. It's funny that you say that. So not to get any near religion or belief or faith or anything. A lot of my art pieces, I have a series, 3 sister projects that talk about cyberspace in the digital age being another realm. It's not necessarily what I believe, but it is such a powerful thing to say that that the digital realm can be a realm of creativity and a realm of itself. I think I've shown you this one. I think you've seen this one. We've talked about it before. This is the very first time we met. The art piece that was a cyberpunk city with advertisements everywhere, that had glitch art and crazy cyberpunk everything, projects connected to it, and they're all what was it, ARGs, alternate reality game, through one of those, and it talks about metaphysical plane of existence, and it just refers to itself as the internet. So it's funny that you say superhero, and then I try to make art pieces that talk about magic literally over our world, and we just see it as the internet.
So we've effectively come full circle right at the beginning.
So yes, thank you for saying that my origin story is equivalent to a superhero. That definitely boosts my ego.
So, oh, go ahead.
Just bad at talking, so no, yeah, I'm done.
So you've also mentioned that you're a programmer, and how long have you been doing that for? Or what
Honestly,
started that?
oh, okay. So this is a good one. My grandmother got me a computer when I was 3 years old. I remember, yeah, one of the earliest memories I have is on a computer. I had, you guys are gonna be so jealous. I had both Doom and Lego Island ever since then.
It's like quintessential
Lego Island.
PC
Lego
game.
Island was the game back in the day. Like we had a PC and we ran Lego Island, and oh man, I have so many good memories with that game. I didn't play Doom as a child though. Didn't play Doom.
Sadly, I did. The game.
Yeah,
that
we're
game
getting
scared
into
me.
it as adults now. So,
But I can remember learning about Doom wads and changing texture files. But I didn't really start programming till I want to say middle school, when like the big Flash game boom happened, and I learned about Java code. I asked for my birthday. I was like what, 12 or 13. I was probably 12. For my birthday, I just asked for like books on Java code and game programming, because I wanted to make Flash games, of course, and do all that. None of those projects survived. None of them were good enough to. But
You know the feeling.
I do remember as a kid, like, just programming. In fact, on my bookshelf, I still have my books from way back when I wanted to program in Java.
wow.
Oh, naive me.
Hey, but that's what gets you started.
Yeah, I mean, I feel
Absolutely.
like, talking just for a little bit about like, your passions and stuff like that. I feel like everybody has to find theirs, and whether that be their art, or maybe it's business, or whatever it may be, and I feel like around that time for a lot of people is when they find something that they really, really like and they attach to. I remember when I was maybe 12, 13, 14, I really got into singing, and then I picked up the guitar, and then, I'd been doing music before that, but up until that point, it was more like my parents were making me learn piano. But at a certain point, it just clicked, and I was like, I really like doing this, and I'm going to keep doing it, And I also really like talking, so I'm going to find ways to talk a lot on the internet. So
And here we
that's
are.
what I'm doing here. Yeah.
So you've mentioned glitch art. Are there examples of that on the internet that people can find?
Actually, my YouTube channel. I can link in. Do you want into the Discord chat some good videos?
Sure. And we can. You can also post it in the YouTube chat if you have that open. But I can switch it over there. Or actually, Logan, can I have you or Paul do that?
Oh, I can do it.
Just go ahead and put them in the chat, and we'll get them out to people.
So this is going to be a little bit of a cross promotion, because one of my musician friends needed a glitch art video done, and it was a pretty big, daunting project, and I really wanted to do it. Favorite glitch art videos I've done. The bitrate's absolutely terrible on YouTube, because it was a 4K video, and I don't know. That's right. It does not. Oh wait, how did you guys do it? It didn't let me do it. Oh, YouTube. YouTube.
Oh, it's probably because it'll probably it usually recognizes links as spam.
Oh yeah.
You don't want people spamming their own content or anything in a chat like this.
But yeah, it was so ignore the bitrate. I wish I could show you the original, but I don't have the original. I actually gave it to him. But really interesting. So let me just say a little bit about it. before I say anything else about my glitch art. That one, he worked on a musical piece talking about and using samples of a brain scan of a Alzheimer's patient, took the data from the brain scans and translated it to musical notes. And
Wow.
he said that's the basis of it. And he's an amazing drummer, absolutely amazing drummer. And so this is kind of an electronic piece with that in mind. So I used a lot of videos of brain scans, 3D modeled brains that I just like rotated in like a 3D editor and just took videos of real fast. Since it's Alzheimer's, I used the glitch art to represent A of the brain, but definitely how the brain starts messing up when you have Alzheimer's. So the same way Alzheimer's works, glitch art of videos, 2 frames in the code of a video. They're called iframes and p-frames. One of them stores data of where pixels were, stores data of pixels where they will be. So it's easier on like video encoders to like play the video.
Sure.
So if you delete where pixels were, it tries to predict where pixels will be. So you'll get a lot of weird meshing and weird effects. So that's one of the things I did. So everything bleeds together. All the pictures of the trees, all the pictures of the brains, they all bleed together. And you're not able to tell like where the clips start and end. And then on top of that, I used a program called Acid Cam. Its algorithms are really cool. It's written by one dude, and his work by just taking the same frames or those iframes and p-frames and telling them the wrong data, like just switching up the data real fast. So it does like weird, crazy, trippy visual effects where like the colors change wrong and they're just like doesn't know which pixel color they should be. I used to make this piece to try to like help tie in with his music, with that central theme of the brain scans of an Alzheimer's patient.
This is fantastic. By the way, I've been watching this while you've been explaining that. I've also got it in the stream.
It's
easy to get
really
lost.
mesmerizing. It's just very chaotic, but it's also like, whoa.
It's super trippy. I love psychedelic art. It's the bright neon colors and the many lines. I love it all. It's beautiful.
Now, were you drawn to that kind of look and feel before you came upon glitch art, or was that a result of it?
Oh, I've always been drawn to digital art. Taking it back to middle school. Stumble Upon the website Stumble Upon, because I could just find new art, constantly go through websites, but I always loved so like just remember any of the animations that were on early Adult Swim, and I don't mean the shows, I mean like the bumpers where they would do crazy animations, like they would play like Flying Lotus and they would have like a guest artist do an animation.
Yes.
Yeah, those hell out of me as a kid. I loved those bumpers so much. There's one I absolutely loved. It was Blockhead the Music Scene. There's a video for that. There's Technicolor trippy visuals of animals, and they turn into like this weird geometric lines, and it's all sorts of craziness. But yeah, I've been drawn into neon colors and lots of line work since an early age, I think.
So where do you plan on taking this going forward? Is this going to be kind of like a hobby on the side of the games, or where does this kind of fall?
haven't been doing too much glitch art for one big reason. My computer's not the best right now. I'm going to be getting a new computer, I want to say after this convention. I'm so talk about financials here. I think it's a really good idea to use. I'm going to use a Amazon, practically a credit card, and just go for it. I'm gonna get an HP, a part of the Omen series. They're certain gaming laptops made by HP. I really want one. Simply just for the power to export videos and run these algorithms that make these crazy visuals.
Right.
But
well, I would highly advise that you do that, because I would like to see more of this, because this is pretty incredible.
Thank you. Yeah, I don't know. I want to incorporate it in some of my games. I got to show you guys Technomancers at some point. I think there's some on Facebook if I can possibly link to it and find it. There's a lot of neon colors in that, simply because I usually do that with cyberpunk art.
Okay. Just
because I feel like, old 80s cyberpunk writing talked about neon signs so much. LED is where it's at. You can get crazy bright LEDs and crazy trippy effects that can, bring in people's attention more. Cyberpunk has, of course, neon colors, but bright LED colors. I always tried to do trippy visual effects in my cyberpunk, but let's see. Don't have too much to send a quick link to one of the videos on Facebook.
Yeah, and we can go ahead and post that in the chat.
Done and done.
So yeah, that one also has trippy visuals. I'm not going to do it too much in my video games. In fact, the next one I have planned uses way too far ahead of myself. They use pictures of cardboard for the sprites and everything. Kind of based on Little Big Planet, but I'll talk about that later when we have time. I want to put it in my video games, but not really. I kind of want to keep it as a hobby.
Well, I think it's a good hobby, and you should keep working on that.
Thank you.
But that is a good time to swap over and talk a little bit more about games and BTL Games. Go ahead and give us a little background on that.
So BTL Games started with me and my friend Chad Gray, as well as my best friend Emily Abate. We all went to Lincoln Land together and had separate classes together a little bit. And we all took the video game programming classes. I think they're actually labeled as app development classes at Lincoln Land. But we took them there. Made separate projects, except for Chad. Chad and I made a project together. Emily worked on it with another team, but we all helped each other with our art assets and programming and sounds and everything. And we decided we wanted to continue. We wanted to make our own art projects and our own thing. But we just hit it off as all friends and decided to make this little studio and continue. We try to hide this project a little bit, even though we love the hell out of it. It's a like a really big action mech game. We made 2 different versions of it. None of them anywhere near selling or being able to actually publish. Just show off on an iPad at school events. But this one, and then we worked on some other projects together, and then we made Technomancer and this other this zine, this digital zine, and yeah, this is going to be our first. Wait, I don't think I've talked about that yet. The convention.
No, I don't think so.
No, yeah.
Okay. To promote it, real fast?
Go for it.
Okay. So this Saturday, there is a convention in Springfield, Illinois, where we have a vendor booth with other game designers, and we will be selling two of our products. It's called Springfield Microcon, and yeah, it's this Saturday. But it's our very first convention that will be organized as a full group, where we're not just showcasing or not just doing an art show.
Mm-hmm.
This is our big home run right here. But yeah, that's the story of BTL Gaming so far.
You mentioned before we started the show that Technomancer was your biggest game. Go ahead and tell the folks listening a little bit about that.
Right. So Technomancer, let's start with the name Technomancer. So like Mancer, we have like Necromancer, Pyromancer, a mage. And then Technomancer, I have actually stolen this from cyberpunk literature and genre. It is someone that can interface with technology. Interpret it is they're able to astrally project into cyberspace, and it's got that. Okay. It's got that gauntlet feel. It's definitely our pixel sizes are 16 by 16 and technically 32 by 32. So like right there at that SNES and Game Boy Advanced graphics limit. And yeah, it's a dungeon crawl, roguelike dungeon crawl. You're able to upgrade your attacks, get new attacks, and you fight enemies every time you go down in depth into cyberspace. The AIs and the creatures they get harder and harder, and you start introducing new ones and everything. And yeah, it's a little bit of both randomly and procedurally generated. So there's a lot of crazy things that can happen in it.
Okay, is Technomancer out currently, or is this under development?
So we do have an itch.io page, but it does need updated until this Saturday. We have been slowly burning them all on CDs, painstakingly burning them on CDs, because we want, so by the graphics, we really want that retro feel to it. We really want that roguelike dungeon crawl feel. So we actually have jewel cases, and it almost like represents like a PS1 kind of case and everything.
I love that.
That's great. So no, we have not released it fully yet, because we've been, and just the nature of roguelikes, we've been slowly updating it. But no, it will be out this Saturday, because we've been crunching as well for this con. Today we just finished a banner that'll be back projected with a projector displaying Mid-State Game Huddle and BTL Gaming. And we just finished that today, so
that's awesome.
Right on.
We have been crunching on time.
So how long has Technomancer been in development for?
2.5 months actually. We've both been almost every day. I would say we've been working on this. The hardest part was, of course, the randomly generated dungeon. Just getting like a grid system and figuring out exactly our numbers. We had to, start from the basics. So right there, that was like a week-long project. And then from there, just been spaghetti coding one enemy and turning it into like, oh, what do we think of next? What kind of enemy do we want to do now? So we start with the basic skull on there in the video. It just follows you. It has a simple path AI to follow you. And then we were like, what's next? Oh, faster ones, of course. And then ones that shoot you, and then ones that run away from you, and then ones that explode into other ones. And so we've been playing with that. That's ate up a lot of our time, is just playing around with different AIs and different enemies that you could work with. But yeah, it just took 2.5 months actually.
What has that process been like for you? Has it been more of a learning experience? Were you confident going into it? What kind of challenges came out of that?
Oh, yes, this has definitely been a learning experience. In fact, I've been, yeah, I've been streaming on Twitch. Just like every time I work on it, I'll stream it on Twitch to showcase like what I'm doing and like going through the process of it. It's one because we wanted to learn the fundamental mechanics of gaming.
Sure.
Yeah, so what exactly do you want in an arcade style game? Actually, a dungeon crawler roguelike. We played many videos and games of modern day roguelikes. My favorite, of course, is Enter the Gungeon. Love Enter the Gungeon.
It's a good one.
Oh yeah, I love it. To figure out what are the key mechanics. And of course, a good roguelike has, no saves, permadeath. Easy there. We don't have to we don't have to program a file that keeps your save data. So what's next? Your weapon style, and then your health. How do you want to track your health? Do you want a thermobar, or do you want an actual countdown? We went with countdown. Do we want limited bullets, or do you want infinite? What kind of enemies do you want? What are special goals? What's the end result? And we went, it's a secret, but I want to say right now that there is no end, because I personally feel. Let's have this conversation. I want to ask you guys now.
Okay.
Do you feel like a good roguelike has an end or goes on infinitely?
I think that's really subjective, right? Because I'm of the opinion that even when you're talking about a more rigid term like roguelike, which is it's referring to a very specific type of game, like there's still freedom in that, right? So I haven't played a ton of roguelike. The one I've played the most of and that I've put in well over 600 hours is Binding of Isaac, which does kind of have an end, but then it doesn't, right? So obviously, like, there's an end to a run, but you can just keep playing it and playing it. And I think the progression in that game works really well as well.
Yeah, you have goals to accomplish.
So there's some sense of progress, but obviously you're playing the same story over and over again. So was that an appropriate answer? Because I got lost in what you were actually asking, but I don't know. I think it just depends,
For me, like, Binding of Isaac is like my go-to example because it's the one I've played the most of. I feel like to a degree I prefer having that end goal, something that you can work towards, something that at some point it does stop you and force you to go back and start through the process again, experience it in a different way than you did the first time. That's just my 2 cents.
For me, I do kind of like a sense of finality, but if a game doesn't have an end, I mean, like, take something like, Smash Brothers. Obviously, that's not a roguelike, but that's a game I'll go back to over and over again. You could say the same with Monster Hunter. Like, if a game is good, I'm going to keep playing it.
So there is. Ooh.
Oh, did we lose Logan?
Yep.
Okay.
That doesn't happen often. What?
Oh.
No, he's back. Oh, keep going.
So there's bittersweet ends to Technomancer. Reasons why we did this. And we have been taking it to art shows and test playing it with other people to see their reaction with these technical ends and where they think the game should go and how they felt about. So yeah, we do not have an end to Technomancer. And in the nature of it, we feel like it shouldn't. It is a roguelike and it is a dungeon crawler. It is also a cyberpunk piece. With that, the very opening is your master, your teacher, telling you that they do not understand technomancy. In fact, they're the ways of the old. And he looks like Gandalf. I mean, like, you can definitely tell, like, oh, this guy isn't a technomancer, but you are definitely apprenticed to him. He tells you, don't stray too far in, or you'll lose your own consciousness, because you are astrally projecting into cyberspace. So going too deep in, you can lose your mind. We didn't want to have an end because we want the player to realize I'm ruining the ending of my game. I'm ruining the ending. It's okay. So yeah, I should have said spoiler warning if you're gonna play this game.
Brilliant.
I got to. The more you go into it, the more your character loses their mind, and they can go on infinitely because they never go back into the real world. Pausing actually brings you out of cyberspace and back into the real world. You stop astrally projecting, and it's paused, and you stopped astrally projecting. So with that, that's the ending. Is
kind
actually
of blowing my mind right now.
Is actually having the restraint to stop searching through cyberspace. Just not do it. Not play the game. And it's the reason we did it is it's a cyberpunk piece. We wanted to talk about. I guess you could call it internet addiction, but it's way more than that. Obviously, there's magic involved.
The commentary still stands.
Yeah, there's still the social commentary that a good dystopian sci-fi talks about. And yeah, so there is no ending to Technomancer.
Well, you just kind of blew my mind. I love the direction. I love your willingness to commit to something, to that avail, because that's awesome. That I mean, despite knowing like that ahead of time, that still draws me more, I think, to go out and try it myself.
Sweet. No, seriously, and I do encourage everyone to like keep playing because I took time on the sprite work and I took time on the mechanics.
I mean, there's still a goal or a competitiveness to this where you can talk to your friends and be like, "Hey, I lost my mind even more than you did because I made it further." Suck it.
That's good. Yeah. Yes, it is an arcade game, but it is also a psychological thriller more. The true nature of the game, the true ending of the game, but it goes more than that. And yeah, I think, yeah, I'm gonna say right now I'm not even gonna talk to my other teammates. I'll throw money at them for this later, but I'll give you guys game if you want it, so you guys can play it and tell me what you think. Because I always
have to play it now.
Sweet.
I have to.
Yeah, we'd love to show it off.
Yeah, I'm always looking for feedback and everything as well.
Definitely.
But yeah, I think it goes to like 50 depths, or depth 50, somewhere between 50 and 100, where you've ran into all possibilities of enemy changes and Easter eggs and weird stuff like that. So it doesn't sound too much because I've always wanted to do 200 to 300, but just playing long enough, I was like, no, 50 to 60 is a good number.
Yeah, they gotta feel that out.
Yeah, for nothing weird happening. Nature of it, it's just, yeah, it's randomly generated, so you know, time on one level is way different than another. So
well, can you go ahead and post me any more relevant links? I'll get all of that in the descriptions. Once again, just tell everybody where they can find you and all of your work.
That's right. Let me post to Itch.io.
And we'll post those in the chat, too, for everyone listening.
Into the chat.
Thank you so much.
Into the chat.
Take the current version of Technomancer off of my... I think I'm actually going to take it off of my itch.io page, simply because it is an older version. I do not want to, because it's $3 on there right now, and I don't want someone like buying an earlier version.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's understandable.
I'd feel horrible if I linked people to my
And while we're waiting for that, right after this, we will plunge into the breakdown segment of the Breakdown podcast, the place where it gets its namesake. We'll be talking about our movies, TV, anime, games, and basically all the media that we consumed over the last week, what we liked, what we loved, what we didn't like, just pretty much all of that. So you can look forward to that. Devin will be joining us for that segment as well. And let me know when you have everything posted and we can.
Actually, the itch.io is the only thing.
Okay.
Have I posted? I don't think I've posted to the Facebook. Have I?
Actually, we do have a link to the Facebook vicariously through a video. So with all that in mind, we can move on into the breakdown segment of the podcast. Make sure that you follow Devin on all the various channels. Follow BTL Games on Facebook, or like it on Facebook, excuse me. And get ready for Technomancer, because we'll be showing you that at some point. So look forward to that as well.
Sweet.
So starting out with movies and TV, I had a busy week in that regard, and not much in any other area, so I kind of front-loaded it here this time. I've been watching a lot of Community. I am in Season 6 of Community already, so I don't have a lot left to go. I watched Season 4, which I know a lot of people dread because of the firing of Dan Harmon and the writers.
The gas leak season.
The gas leak season. I didn't hate it. I certainly didn't like it as much as prior seasons, and certainly not Season 5, which I adored.
People they really dragged this season in particular down a lot more than I think it probably deserved. It's all right. Yeah, it's not the same level as the other seasons, but it's still watchable.
Yeah, I mean, there were episodes that I liked. I was talking to Joe a lot because he was a big fan of Community while it was still airing. And, Season 4, he was not very receptive to. But that said, there are still episodes and still jokes and still aspects of Season 4 that he likes. One that we disagreed on was the episode where Pierce gets locked in his house. He hates that episode, and I didn't hate it, but I also didn't love it. But there was one joke in there that I really liked. When Troy, they're watching the monitor of Pierce inside of his locked room or whatever it was. And Troy picks up the remote and he just breaks it. And he's like, I just broke the remote. And it cuts to commercial immediately after that. And I just love how quickly we went through to the beginning and the end of the joke. It barely gave me enough time to even respond to it.
The only thing I remember from that season is Abed's girlfriend.
And how she's forgotten and then later not forgotten and then later forgotten again.
Yep. Good stuff, right?
Yeah, they don't commit to a whole lot in this show. Obviously, Jeff has had many different relationships in this series, and none of them are committed to in any capacity at all. But I kind of like it. It feels like a roller coaster. I just started Season 6. There's an obvious change in filmmaking process when you get to Season 6. The cameras
Yahoo!
And lighting changed. Thank you, Yahoo, for saving the show. And then not saving the show after the fact, I guess.
Not saving the movie. 6
seasons in a movie. My favorite episode of Season 5... Or was that Season 6? Does Season 5 have the G.I. Joe episode?
I feel like that's Season 6, but...
The G.I. Joe episode is probably my favorite episode I've watched in the last 5 days. The whole episode is animated like a classic episode of G.I. Joe, and all the characters insert themselves, and they have ridiculous code names. Jeff Winger is the wingman. Shirley, who likes to boast about her 3 kids, is just called 3 children, I think, or 3 kids. Abed, who obviously breaks the fourth wall a lot, his name was Fourth Wall, and just a bunch of dumb stuff like that. So, love that. And then the last thing I wanted to mention was the episode where Donald Glover takes his exit from the series. Comes on very suddenly, and you don't get a whole lot of closure, but it is what it is, because he went on to do bigger and better things.
A lot better things. Like, wow.
Yeah, he became the childish tycoon, according to the boat that he leaves on at the end of his time on the show. So good stuff there. So yeah, still enjoying Community. I've got 11 episodes left, I think, before I'm done, and then I'll be sad. However, the show is being released in full on Blu-ray in a complete set next month, and Josiah and his crew are picking it up, and they invited me to watch the series all over again, and I think I'm on board for that.
It's always fun watching through shows with friends.
Yeah,
especially Community.
I mean,
Community's in the name. You have to watch
what a great show to do it with, you know.
Oh yeah, I'm loving that. Sad news in regards to Joel McHale. His show, the Joel McHale Show with Joel McHale, was canceled.
Yeah, so was Mchale Wolf, and I think Mchale Wolf is incredibly funny, and The Break, I thought it was very good. But apparently it's too controversial. I think it was too controversial for
What
people.
you're saying, though, is that he's available for the movie.
Yes, but nobody else is, except for Gillian.
And for our podcast.
Yes, exactly, where he'll probably just insult us for the entire show, but that will be a good thing.
That'd be the best episode.
As long as everybody gets to cringe as much as they did at VGX.
I mean, that's how he got his job as Jeff Winger. When he went in for the audition, he just, all the executives in suits, he just insulted them one by one before actually doing his audition, and that got him the job.
Good.
On top of that, I also went out to see Crazy Rich Asians, which is a film in theaters right now. Rom-com featuring an incredible cast. Ken Jeong from Community is also in that film. I didn't know that going into it, so when he showed up on screen about 30 minutes into the movie, I was delighted to see my boy.
Wait, who is this?
Ken, who plays Chang on Community.
I don't know.
You don't know
who Chang is?
Dude, I don't watch that much Community. I don't really watch.
Have you seen
I've seen episodes.
What are they called? I completely forgot what all the movies are called. The Hangover. Have you seen The Hangover?
Oh yeah.
That's Ken, the crazy dude.
Okay.
Fun fact: that guy's actually a doctor.
Interesting.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
he went through medical school and he's a doctor.
I would have not expected that.
Yeah, how do you even get into acting?
How do you bounce both of those lives?
That is a story I definitely
better.
want to hear sometime.
Is he okay? I don't have any more questions for him.
To everybody just showing up in the chat, make sure to go back and watch our interview with Devin Larson about all of his art and BTL Games. And I'll put all the links in the description later as well for all of his work. So thanks, guys. So yeah, Crazy Rich Asians is a rom-com about a Chinese man and a Chinese American woman who are falling in love in America. But the man has a big old crazy rich Asian family back in China or back in Singapore. So she doesn't know that, but he wants to take her back to visit his parents. She finds out that they're crazy rich after they get on the plane and suddenly they're in first class with their own private suite. That's when she started questioning it. That's when he eventually told her, hey, yeah, my family's rich. And essentially the film just kind of focuses on the themes of rich versus poor mentality and how people perceive other people. It also deals with issues of race. There's actually a lot of situations where pure Chinese individuals are racist against her for being partly American. So it dabbles into some interesting places that a rom-com you typically wouldn't probably travel.
It's also one of like the first movies with like, or for a while, first movies since a while that had predominantly or all Asian American cast.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. So, which is really big, especially with Hollywood right now.
Oh, definitely.
I've
seen some people.
Which isn't which.
This is that Discord delay. Go ahead.
Which isn't like a reason to see a movie, you know, but it's definitely a plus because, you know, support the amazing actors and actresses who for the longest time have not had. I'm sorry. I am still angry about Ghost in the Shell.
With Scarlett Johansson.
Yes. So to see like a big comeback like this with especially Asian American actors and actresses like getting like a big budget movie all to themselves is just is good. I would like to see more. I'm still mad about Ghost in the Shell not having like Asian Americans play a predominantly Japanese based film.
Right.
Yeah, and obviously this movie is a big triumph in Asian representation in Hollywood, and I think it will probably be the first of many because, one, it gathered a great host of fantastic actors and actresses, and it was a great movie. So it fills both of those requirements. I think it runs a little bit over 2 hours long. Like I said, themes can be a little heavy at times, but overall it's a lighthearted rom-com film. I'm not going to get too much deeper into the story, but I gave you a little preview about what you'll be getting into. On top of that, I also saw Alpha, which just came out, and for those of you who don't know, that is a movie that takes place like 20,000 years ago, I think is what it says, and it's about a like a hunter-gatherer culture. It starts, the movie opens with a group of men who were sent out to gather food before the winter, getting ready to hunt bison, I think it was, and the not quite like that, but still.
It was Jimmy Neutron.
Oh, right.
The axe.
Ooh, caribou. The protagonist is the son of the chief of the particular tribe, and this is his first hunt that he's gone out on. He is taken by a bison and thrown off the edge of a cliff. His father and all of the rest of his tribe assume that he's dead and abandon him. He soon wakes up to find that he's been left there. They left a little gravesite for him, so he knows that they think he's dead. And quickly after this happens, he's got a broken leg. He gets attacked by wolves and climbs up in a tree and avoids them. He ends up stabbing one of them in the side, right over the shoulder, that was biting his leg. And that wolf is abandoned by its pack because it is no longer able to take care of itself. So it's just him with a bum leg and the wolf with a bum, forearm front leg, unable to fend for themselves. And the story essentially is about the bond between man and dogs and how that story came to be. That is the plot of the film in a nutshell.
So it's like historical fiction.
Yeah. So the
like, obviously we can't know what actually happened, how that happened, but it's like, okay, here's a plausible story that we're going to tell around this nice narrative.
I wish I could say that I loved this movie. Go ahead, Devin. I'll follow up.
So fun fact, because I love the study of evolution and weird stuff like that. The biggest theory right now is that dogs evolved from wolves that mostly were cast out of everything, but were mostly scavengers. Like as soon as mankind started like actually forming tribes and everything, there would be wolves that would just like stay on the outskirts and just like collect trash. They're mostly scavengers, and into dogs because we went, oh, you're not biting me right now. I bet you're useful. Why don't you go herd those sheep or go catch a cow? I don't know.
That's a good background.
That's the most popular theory right now.
Okay. So obviously the movie takes it in a little bit of a different direction, but I wanted to enjoy this movie going in, and I guess I should preface it by saying that I did like it, but I didn't like it as much as I would have liked to. There's a lot of issues of pace in this movie. You open up with the scene, the confrontation between the tribe and the bison, and he's immediately thrown off the cliff right at the beginning of the movie, and then it takes you back, I think, 2 weeks prior, and you get a very long setup for a tribe of members that you don't see for the majority of the movie. So I didn't quite appreciate it as much for that. I mean, you need some necessary background because you want to feel for why the protagonist wants to get back to his tribe in the first place. You need to establish that kind of connection. That is something you probably could imply because, he's the son of the chief. But it is what it is. It takes a while to get into the meat and potatoes of the movie, which is him and the wolf, partnering up to take on the world. I just feel like it falls a little bit flat. There is not as much depth as I would like. It's almost. I feel like I went to go see a high budget movie that was blended together with a Hallmark film. Not to degrade the quality of the movie that much, but still, there was
what are you trying to say, man?
I'm
Resident Hallmark expert here. I'm offended.
There wasn't enough substance. That's, I think, is all I'm trying to say in the end there. I think you should see it and formulate your own opinion. Seems like reception critically has been pretty positive so far. But all I can say is I liked it.
I was about to say, oh, you're a contrarian, aren't you?
Didn't hate it, just liked it.
Right.
But I do have another animal movie I want to talk about that I love dearly, and that is Babe, which came out in the 90s.
I remember. That's the movie
bacon,
about.
right?
Yeah, it's about bacon.
Yes, it is about bacon, actually. And maybe that you don't want to eat your pig friends.
Or maybe we do, even though we feel for
the main actor who plays the farmer, to really commit to the role and commit to the message of the film, he became a vegetarian during that time.
I was hoping you were going to say they adopted a pig, but
no, he became a lifelong vegetarian after that, and I want to say if he's still alive, I think he still is a vegetarian. It's quite the commitment.
That is commitment, yeah.
But I think that's such a landmark movie for the animatronics, and just the way they were able to make that seem so real. I think it also used some very early CG. But there are scenes when Babe is talking to, what is his name? Ferdinand the duck. They're talking inside of a little chicken coop with very harsh shadows, so you can't see it very much. But they use animatronics during that scene, so you can't tell. I mean, obviously, I could tell because the animations for the pig and the duck were far less, intricate than that of a real pig and a real duck. But that said, I think that movie is a milestone in filmmaking. Even to this day, I watched it for the first time in many years 2 nights ago, and it still impressed me. Cute story. It's all about Babe becoming a sheep pig, defying the odds, becoming something that, he shouldn't be necessarily. And yeah. And then I realized I'd never seen the sequel, Pig in the City, and that's probably because maybe you don't need to see the sequel, Pig in the City. So I don't know if I'll pursue that anytime soon. But I did want to mention that Babe is voiced by the lady who voices Chucky in Rugrats and also Dexter. I believe she passed away between the making of that and the making of Babe, Pig in the City. And guess who took over the role of Babe?
Who?
Elizabeth Daily, the voice of Tommy from Rugrats.
Okay.
Aww.
So kind of passed the torch over. And she emulates the original actress's performance of Babe fairly well. I watched a little bit of the sequel just to see if it retained the kind of the image that the first movie had.
Was it babe enough?
You know,
not quite.
That reminds me of a movie that is being made, a movie that has been made before. So this is another version of it that Andy Serkis is involved with. That being Animal Farm. Yeah.
That's not Charlotte's Web.
Oh.
Yeah, no, this is better than Charlotte's Web because that's
debatable.
In nature.
I bet you could take Charlotte's Web and just like look real hard and find Animal Farm.
Anyway,
that's pretty much all I watched. Oh, and the highlight of my week was Community, if I didn't mention that.
You're the highlight of my week.
And Devin, I don't see you have anything listed here. Did you do any movies or TV this week? Last week?
Movies and TV. No, I am a basement dweller that does not watch too much TV. No, not TV or movies. I've honestly not gone to the theater in a while. So no, I'm. Oh wait, I did want to make a point. You were talking about the special effects in Babe. Just a couple days ago, I was watching Lord of the Rings with my friend, and we were looking at and breaking it down of Lord of the Rings, and there is one crucial moment in one of the movies I wanted to talk about. They're taking the ring to Mordor, and they're coming over the mountain right before Gandalf fights the Balrog in the crypt. There's one scene that took literally a week because if you guys haven't seen it in a while or remember all of the actors in it, all around like 6 foot, but of course there's like hobbits, elves, and Gandalf. Like,
yeah,
there's so many like different height variants. In one shot, they managed to pan the camera up and down to look at everyone coming over a hill and get their faces in the middle of the screen. So all around like 5 to 6 foot, and they need like hobbits to do the same thing. So they created a structure where the floor moves, the rocks in front of them move. There are 2 different floors that move, and each of them have to step correctly to get the shot perfect.
That's so elaborate.
Yeah, so
and
insane.
Also very, wow. That's like, how can we do this without anything else? Let's just orchestrate this moving piece and hope that everybody steps correctly.
Yeah, there are so the golden ring, there are props of those that are the size of tires, because they needed to like have like close-ups of the ring while someone's in the distance.
Sure.
So they'd put like this tire-sized ring in the snow and have someone like far away so that it looks like, it's a close-up of the ring and everything.
That's amazing.
Learning about the special effects of Lord of the Rings, it's insane. It's absolutely insane.
Thank you for bringing that up. I'm always down to talk practical effects. So, Paul, we'll throw it to you with what you watched.
I watched one whole movie this week.
Wow. Hey. That's not the Paul quota.
But, yeah, I'll step my game up for next week. But for this week, I did watch a good one. I hopped on Hulu, and I finally sat down to watch Ingrid Goes West.
Wait, is that on Hulu?
Yep.
Aubrey Plaza?
Yep. I mean, it's been on my watch list for a long time on Hulu because Aubrey Plaza, Elizabeth Olsen, and O'Shea Jackson Jr.
Okay, that you got me. I'm ready.
Yeah, that's all I needed to know. But I finally, I was watching a documentary on parasocial relationships, and they kind of brought up this movie, and so I jumped into this to kind of see what they were talking about.
Are you talking about that video I sent you?
Yep.
Okay.
They delved into this in part 2.
Gotcha.
Which was
where have I heard that term before? Parasocial.
The video Brandon sent us this week.
I sent it to both of you.
No, and I'm not surprised. I mean, I remember getting
it's the relationship between a content creator and their fans, where the fan has like an emotional attachment to them that's more personal for them, but it doesn't reciprocate.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Oh, it's kind of like how I view, like, I'm really into Shane Dawson, and he's amazing, and I probably am way more into him than he is into me, because he probably doesn't know who I am.
Yet.
So, yeah, okay. Very social.
So starting off, you have Aubrey Plaza's character Ingrid, and you see her kind of scrolling through Instagram and liking photos. And as it goes on, there's a lot of these pictures of a wedding. And as she's looking through these pictures of the wedding, she's getting noticeably more and more upset, to the point that she goes rushing out of the room, shows up at the wedding, and then pepper sprays the bride because you didn't invite me. And so you assume that, like, this is a friend, a dear friend, and, she's upset that, she got pushed out of this person's life. So after a stint in a mental institution, after the assault charge, you find out that, oh, hey, she really, she found this person on Instagram, and because they had a few, like, positive interactions, she, began to believe that they were very close friends. They were dear friends, even though that wasn't the case. She was just kind of stalking her, which makes sense because in that same breath, you kind of find out that she latched onto this person because she was trying to cope with the loss of her mother, who, for the most part, was her only friend in her entire life.
Okay.
And so as she's coping with this loss, that's just how she did it. So after that blow to her spirit, she's flipping through a magazine, and she reads about Elizabeth Olsen's character Taylor, who is this really big Instagram influencer. I think like several 100 million followers, and she lives out in California. So what does Ingrid do? She decides to take all of the money she inherited from her mom and go to California, to the exact same town. And
this is the part where she goes west.
Exactly. Changes her Instagram handle. Changes her Instagram handle to Ingrid Goes West.
Now. Makes sense.
And then O'Shea Jackson Jr., he plays Dan Pinto. She meets him because he's renting out a property, and so she shows up at his door, offers to pay cash for, like, I think it's like $3,000 a month. And so he starts asking questions, as you should when someone offers to pay rent in cash. And you see that, like, he really starts to connect to her because, his backstory is also, I grew up without parents. And so they kind of bond over that, that commonality that, now they are both technically orphans.
But now they're orphans together.
The part about this that breaks my heart is that, like, you can tell that Dan's trying to, like, reach out to her and, like, genuinely help her through this tough time. And it feels a lot like she's just, like, she's so focused on Taylor and trying to stalk her and, form a friendship that she just ends up kind of taking advantage of him. And so there's this opportunity right in front of her face for a genuine human connection that she just kind of completely ignores in the pursuit of something that's so superficial. But a lot of the movie is her using Instagram to find Taylor and try and very awkwardly make a connection with her.
Well, that's sad and funny.
This is on Hulu?
Yep. Ultimately, this is a debate, I think, for later. I feel like the ending of this movie is sends a bad message. It's trying to make a positive statement, but I feel like they do it in a wrong way. But we can talk more about that after you guys hop on Hulu and check it out.
Okay, I will do that. Before we move on, I actually want to mention something in regards to Hulu. Local filmmaker in my hometown and also a graduate of the same school I went to. Has won many awards through Sundance with his documentary called Minding the Gap. Minding the Gap is about him and his two friends growing up in the city and, dealing with the pressures of life and fatherhood and how they escape that through skateboarding. It's premiering in my hometown at the Mosaic World Film Festival here next weekend, but you can actually check it out on Hulu right now. It is a Hulu original and is available on the website as of yesterday, I want to say. So definitely check that out if you're looking for something really down to earth, or if you just like documentaries. I'm going to wait to go see it out at the theater because, I live here. I want to see my hometown on the big screen. So just wanted to throw that out there. And then, Logan, what did you check out this week?
So this week, per a suggestion from a friend, I watched the cult classic Heathers, starring none other than the gorgeous Winona Ryder. She's something else.
This has been on my Netflix watch list for a while.
So this movie made me very uncomfortable.
Yep.
It made me very uncomfortable. And I guess that's a good thing because, you don't want to be comfortable with certain situations, right? So I won't spoil it for you entirely, but I will spoil a little bit of the shtick. So Winona is in the most popular clique at school with the Heathers. There's three girls all named Heather, and they're called the Heathers. And Winona's character, I cannot remember her name. Veronica was her name. So Veronica.
Heather got into the Heathers.
Yeah. So she's in with the Heathers, but she also kind of hates the Heathers. She's like, I really don't like them, but they serve a purpose, right?
For her image.
And then convenience and whatever.
That school is very cruel, so getting in with that clique really does offer a lot of protection.
Yeah. And so at a certain point, she meets this one dude. I can't remember his name. Maybe it'll come later. And they hit it off, and he's super interesting, and she's super into him, and then eventually they do the nasty, and then she jokingly decides that she wants to kill one of the Heathers. And then
I like that look on your face, Brandon. He's like, that escalated quickly.
It's like, hello.
I'm skipping some parts. The pacing's a lot better in the actual movie.
I would assume so. Getting the Logan Cliff Notes edition.
And long story short, they prepare a hangover cure for her, which is just like Drano. And she kills over and she dies, and then and then she writes like a suicide note, and everybody buys it, so they get off scot-free. And then so that's the uncomfortable part, right? Because he's super okay with it, and she's like, oh, we shouldn't have done that. I can't believe that actually happened. I guess this is my life now.
Let's not do that ever again.
So the Drano idea was only JD's idea. She just wanted to hock a loogie and orange juice or something, but he switched the cups real fast. So she watches her die fast.
This is very similar to the plot of I, Tonya. But I, Tonya really happened, so.
Right.
Yeah.
So
I, Tonya is way more tame compared to this.
I imagine.
So I think the only thing that got me through this movie was knowing that I got to see more Winona. It's that special, and I did end up enjoying the movie. I think the payoff at the end is really, really worth it. I think the movie is considered a satire, though I'm not sure what of. Maybe just teen movies in general. That kind of Oh,
This is actually one of my favorite movies, and it's definitely like one of those cult classic ones.
right.
We have to really really look at the time this was coming out. What was the damn year it came out?
88.
88. Thank you.
Mhm.
So we got to look at the trench coat mafia and like the black sheep kids that were made fun of in school at the time, and we have to look at how these were portrayed in the 80s. And they were very just like nowhere near how high school really acted, or like none of the kids actually talked like the way they did in the movies.
Right.
So this one, I love it specifically for the language used. The language is so timely, and it is so like realistic to how like teenagers actually talked into of the 80s. So I forget exactly what it was, but yes, it was satire of high school movies at the time, and it wanted to show not only a violent portrayal of teenagers, but a more until it breaks out into being a movie and it's overly complex and ridiculous.
Yeah, it really goes overboard with the presentation, because you're like, oh, this can't get more ridiculous, can it? Like, because like in real life, this would have ended. Like everybody would have been like, well, we would have looked into this more. But like everybody's kind of like, uh-oh, somebody died. We found a suicide note. I guess all these kids are committing suicide, and I guess we're all just gonna think that that's the case, right?
You should really
like,
watch.
Obviously,
you should really watch Sorry to Bother You if you want movies that escalate.
Yeah. So I really enjoyed. Yeah, I really enjoyed this film. Thank you for that insight, Devin. Makes me almost feel like that I've been really irresponsible with how I go about watching movies. So I think I think maybe I need to maybe do a little bit more research about this film now.
I'm the kind of guy who actually likes to research a movie after I've seen it rather than beforehand. So I wouldn't be down on yourself.
Right. But I mean, I think it gives me a little bit of perspective, and it's like, wow, there's so much more to what I'm watching, right? And sometimes I'll watch a movie and I won't think of it much afterwards, and so maybe this is just a reminder to be a little bit more thoughtful with how I engage media.
I want to bring something else to your attention.
Okay.
My two favorite characters are the hippie teacher and the president, or the president of the school. So the hippie teacher overly analyzes the suicide notes in the wrong direction. She like looks at like, oh, look at this tragedy. Look at the youth today. Look at the youth today. Like that is like the big message of the entire movie is like, look at the youth today. But they're like not actually looking at the youth. And then the school president is the direct opposite of her. He does not care at all. Like, in fact, when the first Heather, I think she was the first Heather. It was one of the Heathers, the first one they kill. School board is talking about her. He's like, or someone says like, we need to let the kids like have a day off, because she was the most popular in school.
Right.
And he's like, a day off. Why would we give them another day off?
Right.
It's just like the juxtaposition between those two characters, like, definitely sets the whole movie up to be like, oh wow, there is some satire going on here of like the general message and everything. And
there was always like all the characters, you could tell that they had this really like really defined like facade, right? So even when Veronica was interacting with her parents were always the same. They always said, and they were always like the same like mood, and like the dad with his humor, and you never saw anything outside of that. You know, they were just very like one-dimensional characters, and they kind of like play that up, you know, to an extreme.
Oh, okay. I'm not gonna ruin anything, but like, you can definitely tell with Winona Ryder's character that like there is an arc going on throughout the story of like her emotional and mental state. Like you can see like how her dialogue changes. You can see how her actions change, and it's well played, especially with those interactions with her parent.
Right.
Because like she becomes more like just like an angsty, and yet her parents still act the same way, and it's, I don't know, I feel like that is like good framing of her character as well, by like them not having character.
Yeah.
Like
I think the only contrast I noticed in the film was in a later scene when the mom kind of is worried, but then even after like this occurrence, like she kind of just settles back into it.
Yes, right? Is that
it's more like, oh, that was surprising. Okay, so I can just go back to being whoever I was before, you know? And obviously they weren't like significant characters. They weren't important. They were just like, well, these characters need to be here because that's Veronica's life, you know?
Well, we got to move on to the anime segment of the podcast. And actually, Devin, I didn't watch any anime this week or last week, so I'm going to throw it right to you.
So I didn't watch this either, but I'm really, really excited for it. The Night is Short, Walk On Girl.
I am going to see that tomorrow, and I'm very excited.
Oh, me too, actually. So yeah, I'm going to butcher the director's name, but Masaki Yusa. I believe that's how you say it, right? I'm trying to learn Japanese, but I'm really bad with everything. So he has directed things like Kick Heart. I believe he worked on Cat Soup, which is a weird avant-garde anime. But most lately, he actually directed Devilman Crybaby. The newest version of Crybaby, which I give so much praise, just because of his animation style and like the way he storyboards is beautiful. Just from the trailers of The Night is Short, it's gonna look beautiful. It's just going to be beautiful.
The funny thing about this is I heard about this movie this morning, and I was like, oh, I didn't know this was happening, and then I punched it into my AMC app and found out there was going to be one showing tomorrow at my local AMC. And I made the decision right then that I was going to go see it.
Are you getting it for like $5 or whatever?
I'm on the A list, so I'm not actually paying for it.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah,
well, you are paying for it. You're paying $20 a month.
Yeah, but I'm not paying for it directly.
Yeah.
And the director is Masaki Yuasa.
Said it wrong.
Close enough. He was also involved as the series director for Ping Pong the Animation. And he directed an episode of Adventure Time.
Hey, I did not know that. What are you able to pull it up? What episode it was?
The season 6 episode Food Chain. I remember there being an episode of Adventure Time that was just all like anime based in terms of the visuals, and that might be the one. But
that's all I guess.
Let me look at this one. I've not seen this one, but this one doesn't look. This one definitely is his style, though. Wow, that's crazy. I gotta watch this episode now. Because he's definitely one of my favorite directors. Adventure Time strangely has a lot of weird stuff. Like they had like Flying Lotus, like an entire episode just be his song, and there are points where it like used glitch art and CGI. It was like where they were inside a computer or something. It was weird.
Well, it's a landmark show, and I think that helps speaks to that. speak to that. So we'll both be seeing that tomorrow, and on next week's show, I'll tell you what I thought about that. Paul, I think you were the only one that did your weekly anime duty this time.
Yep. Boruto, since you haven't seen the episode yet, I just want to say that the arc we were talking about last week finally ends. And it looks like we're diving into a very similar arc with a different character next week.
So still filler?
Yeah, basically.
Okay.
But the ending's kind of fun, so I'm not going to complain too much about that. My Hero Academia, I also don't want to ruin that since I don't think anyone else watched it.
No.
For me, it was just like a constraint of time. I couldn't even fit it in.
That's fair. Right now, like, they're doing some fun stuff. It was a solid episode and they focused like on some of the other characters, which, it's been a while since we've gotten something like that. So,
well, next week you'll get a double dose of Boruto and My Hero Academia.
You mean you will?
Well, the audience will. From us.
Right on.
From us.
Then I watched Black Clover, and I'm pretty sure now this arc that I'm on isn't filler. I never know.
You're still like in this limbo where you're not sure.
But it's starting to look like it's actually like progression of the story.
Okay.
Some interesting stuff just started to break down at the very end of the episode I was watching. But the real kicker this week, the highlight of my week, I was kind of down in the dumps at the end of last week, and I just needed a pick-me-up.
A happy
something
show.
Fun to watch and just raise the spirits. And so I decided to start rewatching Toradora.
I love this show.
Oh.
The first time I watched this was a couple years back, and I meant to watch one episode and then watched like all 25.
And then I watched it on your recommendation right afterwards.
I'm just going to say that, like, this is probably one of the highest level recommendations for anime I can give anyone. If you haven't seen it or haven't heard of it, watch it. Stop what you're doing and watch it.
And what was the name of that anime again?
Toradora.
Toradora.
You have Ryuji and Taiga. Ryuji he's a good dude, but he has like he has a punk face, and so people always assume that like he's going to like beat them up or like mug them. It's like the first episode, two guys like are talking about him as he's walking behind them, and when they finally notice that he's behind them, they immediately start apologizing and hand over their wallets. And he's trying to explain, like, I'm not a punk, I get you guys meant nothing by it. Like, I don't want your wallets. And then he ends up having to return them to the Lost and Found because
that's amazing.
He was just stuck with them.
Now I want to rewatch Toradora.
You should. But in the first episode, he meets Taiga, who is nicknamed the Palm Top Tiger. This very short, feisty little girl who also like is known for terrorizing the school. Everybody is afraid of these two. And
well, one of them doesn't warrant it, but the other one maybe.
And so in the first episode, their paths cross. Taiga is going to give Ryuji's best friend a love letter. She accidentally puts it in Ryuji's bag instead. And so she kind of chases after him, and she basically chases him around with a wooden sword, trying to whack the crap out of him and steal the letter back. At that point, he had already seen it. He realizes that she's a klutz. That's one, how it ended up in his bag instead of his friend's, and two, she forgot to put the letter in the envelope. And so that's the only thing, like him bringing that up is the only reason why she didn't just murder him. But in that like same evening, she finds out that her best friend, Ryuji, has this huge crush on. And so they form this pact that they're going to help each other land their best friends. And that's the whole plot. It's just these two like scary but also like really awkward people trying to woo the other's best friend. And it's incredibly delightful, and like I said, highest level recommendation for me.
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it after Paul recommended it to me.
I know, like,
you said something about Sean Chiplock earlier.
So I was watching it, and he's a very, very minor role, but I heard a voice, and I'm like, Sean? And then I looked into it. He plays the gym teacher, who's only in, like, I've only heard his voice like twice, and I'm like 15, 16 episodes deep. But it's like so iconic to me now that like I recognize him as soon as I hear him. But yeah, so if you go to watch that, listen for Sean. He plays the gym teacher.
He'll be on our show on September 3rd.
So we can ask questions about it. Ask him how much he loves teaching gym. I will say I probably chose wrong to rewatch this because I know like I'm getting into some of the heavier territory. The show does a good job of like presenting very like heavy moments and then just wrapping them in comedy to kind of lighten that mood back up. But I think I'm getting to like some of the heaviest of it, and I'm gonna need to find another happy show to watch after this.
Hey, watch Planet after that. That'll fix you right up.
Yeah, so that's it for me.
And then Logan.
So this is the only anime that I've watched this week.
Anime.
And unsurprisingly, it's JoJo. I'm still watching JoJo. I'm still loving every minute of it. It just gets more and more ridiculous. We're so close.
We did
so close.
Did have a death of a voice actor from JoJo.
Yeah. So the Japanese voice actor for Joseph Joestar passed, and he also played Professor Oak and other
Mr.
really some very, very well known characters. So rip. That was very sad to me because I love the character of Joseph Joestar, especially in this current arc. So yeah, it's still good, and we're so close to finding Dio. We're so close.
It was me, Dio. Zawarudo.
Yeah, so they're like really close. There's like a few more stands that they have to get through, and I don't know, and some returning ones, the ones that didn't die and they survived, and they came back to fight, including one of my favorites. So there's this one kid. So this kid and his brother both had stands, right? And they were in a previous, several episodes. But the kid was brought back because he's got his stand is like this book, right? And this book, drawings will appear in it, and that's like fate, right? This is what is going to be. And so another dude takes this kid along to use his power, and that just makes for a whole bunch of zany situations. This arc is much more bombastic and unashamed of itself.
With a series like JoJo, you kind of have to top yourself, don't you?
Yeah, so, and they top it by just being more ridiculous. Like, there have been some very, very over-the-top situations in the last few episodes, and I can't... It's always ridiculous. Like, people get turned into magnets, and all of a sudden, or in one of the recent episodes, the stand user, his power is he had the shadow, and if his shadow touches your shadow, you essentially reverse age, right? So you get younger. So one of the characters got turned into a kid, and then another character, and then so there's just like a bunch of like really weird stuff that happens. People get their souls taken away, and their souls get turned into poker chips. It's just an endless wealth of creativity. Adventure. It's a very, very bizarre adventure, and everybody should enjoy it because it's a really good show, and I'm so glad I took the plunge and that I'm this far into it. So that's my anime for the week.
How much JoJo is there as of right now?
Want to say
On a scale from 1 to One Piece.
3 seasons, maybe more. I might be wrong because I haven't looked that far ahead. I'm just, just moving along. Moving along. So the manga parts. Okay, so we're on the third story arc, Stardust Crusaders. I believe the next arc, Diamond is Unbreakable. I think that's the current arc that they're on, if I'm not mistaken.
Dream Drop
yes.
says 4 seasons.
Yeah, 4 seasons. So they've a third season covering the fourth part, Diamond is Unbreakable, aired. And then an adaptation for the 5th part, Golden Wind, has been announced and will premiere October 2018. So that means by time I'm wrapping up Diamond is Unbreakable, I'm going to have a current show to watch.
So
I'm very excited. Good timing.
So that brings us to video games for the week, and I only snuck one in. But I did play quite a bit of it in the time that I had, and that was Okami HD.
You and liar.
What? What are you talking about?
Generations Ultimate.
Didn't I talk about that last week?
Talked about it on Nintendo stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to bring it up again.
And you played Tabletop Simulator.
Oh, I forgot about Tabletop. But we can talk about more of that when we get to you. So I spent like a good 5-6 hour chunk on Saturday, I think, playing Okami HD, and I've heard a lot of people say that it's a Zelda game, and up until that point, I really wasn't seeing it. I've played pretty much all of the Zelda games up till now, and I was just not really seeing the comparison. At the very least, it was like a really loose comparison to make, until I got into my first dungeon.
Oh.
I did not realize there were dungeons. I thought I had already completed what I assumed was the first chapter. Maybe I didn't. I don't really know. I don't really understand the pace of this game yet. But I did this temple, and I got into this dungeon. I got into my first room, and I said, "Oh, yeah, this is Zelda." It was like by the book.
Zelda real fast.
That was a Zelda dungeon by the book, and I really enjoyed it. Like halfway through the dungeon, you get a new power. That new power gets you to the end of the dungeon, and you use that ability to fight the boss. And I was like, check, check, check. That's Zelda, Zelda, Zelda. So,
is it now your favorite Zelda game?
It's really good. So the power I learned in the first dungeon was the ability to like draw a tether between Amaterasu and like these floating flowers. And the tether would become a vine after I draw it, and that would like kind of whiplash me to the platform. And I had to do that to like traverse bigger rooms once I got to a certain part of the dungeon. Once I left the dungeon, there were flowers in the area where I was at to begin with, that led to some treasures I could now access. But then it's integrated really well into the boss fight. You fight a giant spider, and the spider's got hooks on its back. But the spider will never let you see its back, so you kind of have to maneuver your way to its back long enough to be able to draw a line between one of the floating flowers and one of its butt hooks. So you flip it upside down, and guess what appears on the inside once the spider's a flower, and it blooms once you knock it over. But guess what's inside once it blooms?
A giant yellow orb.
Like 7 eyes. So that was like the last Zelda check mark I needed to check off, was that you attack the eye.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So that was that. I'm like meeting a lot of zany characters. I forget the name of this guy. Or it's Waka. Waka is this dude that just keeps showing up and just challenges me to a battle. He's got this flute that he transforms into a sword, and the animation for that's really cool. He holds it like this, and then he shrinks the flute, and then draws the sword back out with energy, and it's pretty cool. I haven't, like, taken damage hardly against this guy, but, like, the first time I beat him, he's like, "You're not the person you once were. You're nowhere near as strong." And I was like, oh, maybe he knows more about what I'm supposed to be. But after the second time I fought him, he had, like, little sweat marks around the back of his head when he was giving me the same lecture, and I was like, oh, he's just bad. This is, like, not a good fighter. And he wants to make me think that I'm not a good fighter either. So
he's egging you on.
Yeah, he's the reason I'm striving to become stronger. Not really.
Oh, you want to prove it to him?
I think the only criticism I can really make of Okami right now is that it has a very long opening segment. You thought Twilight Princess was long? I would argue that Okami's is a little bit longer. Because I didn't get to that dungeon. It doesn't drag because you're playing the game for the most part during the tutorial segment, unlike Twilight Princess, where you're herding sheep and feeding cats.
Yeah.
Those were my favorite.
So I think it does it a little bit better, but just know that if you're looking for something to jump right into right away, Okami might not be the answer. That said, it's fantastic payoff so far. I hear it runs about 35 hours, I think, when I looked it up on how long to beat. So you're be in for a long one. Josiah told me he thinks it might overstay its welcome just a little bit by the end there. But I look forward to playing more. And that's what I played this week. Devin, I'll throw it to you.
Well, I got the chance to play Slap City. If you, it's really fun. So of good, not copies, but mimics of Nintendo games. This is 100% Super Smash. In fact, the creators of it, I think they said they wanted to create a Smash game that took mechanics that they liked from all of them and put them in. So far, I can definitely tell that there's some unbalanced in some of the characters and a meta that is really going towards a character named Jenny Fox because she just a couple of her attacks definitely have in frames over you, and her airtime is insane. So yeah, I can already tell that there's a meta forming. But that one was really fun. I can definitely see it expanding and going on. And I don't know anything about any of the characters, but I'm pretty sure they're all from like different games or from different projects.
Okay.
But it's a really, really cool little indie game, and I really can't wait for it to expand out even more.
All right. Logan's brother has been talking about that a lot.
Yeah, I think partially because I think Video Game Donkey kind of memed it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but it also just has great reviews. He memed something. But this is one of the Smash clones that I think is definitely piques my interest the most, So
it's definitely fun. You should check it out. There's a couple people I know that play Smash competitively, and I don't have thumbs. I can't use my thumbs. So I'm not quite sure all the tech and all of the crazy watching every single frame movements that some people do, but it seems like it has good mechanics and can do some crazy stuff, so I'm excited to see it more.
All right, it's only $6.99 on Steam for what it looks like.
Yeah,
not a bad price.
Pretty cheap, and that's not even on sale. That's just the regular price.
And then Paul, will throw it to you.
So on top of playing the Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate demo, which you can watch, I think it was last Friday we streamed it, so if you're interested in Monster Hunter, go check that out. But I decided that I also wanted to play a comfort game, so I started playing Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time 3D. And I haven't made it very far. I It's been a busy weekend.
But are you doing original or Master Quest?
Original. I just wanted a nice, like, breezy run through. Stretch my legs a bit. Where I left off was Kakariko Village on my way to Death Mountain.
Oh, okay. So you're already through Deck Country.
Yep. So I don't think I played more than like 3 hours. It is a very like calm. I'm just doing this.
I watched a video. I think there was like a Did You Know Gaming that was just uploaded about Ocarina of Time, and after watching that, I just had an incredibly strong urge to play the game. So when I saw that you played it, I was wondering if it stemmed from the same place.
No, of the 3 Zelda games that are on my 3DS, it was the only one that I had played, and I don't know why I wanted to play something again, but it was Ocarina of Time.
I mean, I just played through, finished Half-Life 2 the other day. So I mean, and that's the second time I played through it. Sometimes you got to go back. You got to go back. You got to experience the things that you experienced, and sometimes if there's enough time in between the last time you played it, it's fresh,
Yeah.
There's still a whole host of games that I'm like near the end of, right? Like I'm near the end of, like, if I just sat down for like an hour and just decided that I was going to die a million times, I could beat Metroid, like Super Metroid, right? I'm like literally at Ridley. I just can't beat Ridley. I'm pretty far in Metroid Prime. I've made my way most of the way through Majora's Mask 3D. Like, I'm at the end of
That's
many
actually
games.
I think part of the reason too why I decided to play Ocarina of Time again, because the next game on my 3DS like playthrough is Majora's Mask.
Please play Majora's Mask.
So I really need to pick back up on some of these games and just finish them. I think I might have to just go hard on the Super Metroid, because I'm like quite literally at the end. It's literally going to be a Ridley fight and then escape sequence, and that's the end of the game, right? That's what I have left.
I love escape sequences.
It reminds me,
they're my favorite.
Last year, my wife just decided to buy Ocarina of Time 3D for herself. Just kind of out of nowhere. I don't even really know what sparked the interest. But then she played it, and she played it to completion. She actually beat the game. I was proud. She was like invested in Ocarina of Time, and that hit me so hard, because that was like my game when I was a kid.
Yeah, it's really fun to find a game like that where you're really intent on finishing it, right? I think the next game for me like that will probably end up being Spider-Man for PS4. Though I did just start a game here recently that I would like to play and finish through to completion.
Don't worry, I'm still working on Xenoblade Chronicles 2. It's a long game.
Just do what I did with Persona 5 and just set it down for like 5-6 months, and you're like 30 hours to the end, and then just start playing it randomly.
I am 30 hours to the end.
Set it down for 5-6 months. Just trust me.
I'm like exactly halfway through the game right now. I was really wanting to get done in time for Torn of the Golden Country DLC, but I don't think that's gonna happen. Logan, we'll throw it to you.
So I played some Tabletop Simulator. We actually streamed some Tabletop Simulator. Not on this channel, because I had some other friends and hooligans in there, and that is not break room certified content. So that is why is on my personal Twitch channel. But that was a lot of fun. I have a highlight up on my personal channel of us getting a virtual tablet set up within game to see the Twitch chat from in game for that stream.
I told Josiah about that, and he was just amazed at the thought to even do that.
Yeah, whose idea was it? Because it was
Ethan's, I think.
Yeah, he was just like, get the tablet. Yeah, if you guys want to go over to my personal channel, you guys can look at that. That was a lot of fun.
I've never had that much fun playing Candyland in my whole life.
Yeah. We didn't play anything. So we started off playing Ultimate Waifu. which I deemed at a certain point to be too NSFW for the stream, so we moved on. I may be okay with cussing on my stream, but there's certain things I do want to just kind of steer clear of. And then we played Candyland afterwards, and that was a pretty intense game.
And well, your brother and Liam, they were playing in VR too.
Oh yeah, so okay. Man, I cannot wait. Because so one of the reasons we went to tabletop is because I saw the news that they had been working on the VR, that there had been an update for the VR compatibility, and that it was an improvement over what it was. And so both my brother Ethan and our friend Liam were in VR, and so you can resize everything. And so they resized it so they were the size of the game pieces, and they were literally just like standing on this massive board, which obviously to us isn't very big, but they're sitting on there. And then so we'd pick the cards for them, and they were their own pawns, right? And so they'd walk from tile to tile,
and they had to like
they were going.
They had to like climb with their hands, so they were like going from space to space.
Yeah.
So I gotta ask, because I've never used a tabletop simulator, and I need to. Did they resize their own character, or did you have to resize all of the pieces?
They resized
their own characters, so nothing changed for us. They literally were just like, okay, we're here.
That
I don't know how all it works in VR, and I think Ethan, I don't know. I guess that's how you probably move in it within the space, as you probably are like
clicking and dragging,
tethering and dragging to get around within that environment.
That whole time we were playing, I was like so tempted to bust out my Vive.
I'm surprised you didn't, because if I had
I was on a time limit.
Right. So I did want to just highlight this is I would love to get a Vive at some point, right? They're getting more affordable. It's probably a ways off at this point, because I just don't have that kind of income. And if I did have that money, I'm spending it on other things to be more productive and do break room stuff and do personal projects and all that good stuff. But man, that was one of the moments where I was like, VR is so great.
Yeah, we should stream some tabletop on the main channel sometime.
Yeah, we will. Tabletop's a good time. The other game I played, which I've been waiting to play, which I played as a kid, and they recently remade it, is the wonderful game of Crash Bandicoot. So I am technically, this is on a loan from a friend who said he would sell it to me if I enjoyed it. So I started playing. I've played through 4 or 5 levels, and I'm getting a little bit nostalgic because I played these games. I never completed these games as a kid, especially because I heard the first one's really rough, and it's been forever since I played them. So getting the chance to play this on my Switch, which is what I was really waiting for, as I was waiting for the Switch version to come out, and now that it has, I have a copy of it, and I'm playing through it, and I couldn't be more excited. And that's my week of gaming. That's my week of gaming.
All right, that throws us to the end of our show. A packed episode this time. Devin, can you go ahead and once again just tell everyone where they can find you?
Yes. So most of my stuff is with BTL Games on Facebook, and IO, same name there, BTL Games. Let me double check that actually.
And we'll put all these links in the description as well for everyone listening.
Yeah, BTL Games. That's where my game projects are. There's currently 2 that we need to publish this Saturday, with the announcement that gone. It's a rabbit hole. It's honestly a rabbit hole. If you want my my Instagram, it is DVNZOOK, and I do post a lot of my art and stuff there. But yeah, I mean, if you want to find my art, just Zook or BTL. Those are my personas, if you will, online.
All right. If you want to follow us, you can follow me at Babababs. You can follow Logan at LoggyDubs. You can follow Paul at Gunnysaurus, or you can follow us as a collective at Breakroom Arcade, all on Twitter. You'll find us on Facebook and all other major social media platforms as well. If you want to help support the show, we got a link to our Patreon in the description. You can support us with as little as $1 a month. If you can't support us, but you're here watching and you like what we do, we love you anyway. So thank you so much for doing all that for us. Make sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you're new here to find out when we go live next. We will be live 7:30 p.m. Central Time on Friday for the Nintendo Stuff Podcast, the podcast Stuff to the Brim with Nintendo. We talk about all the news, games, and all the other relevant stuff in regards to Nintendo over the week, and we do that all in that one show, so you can look forward to that. I got my next episode of Hyrule Diaries coming out on Wednesday, Hyrule Diaries number 3. You guys seem to be enjoying this, and that's making me all warm and fuzzy on the inside, so I'll keep putting those out for you. Got a really big project in the works that I'm excited to finally share with you. I've been thinking about this one for a long time, and it's finally time to actually make it happen. I'm enlisting the help of both of these dudes right here. There we go. So it's going to be a big project, and I hope you guys like it when it's finally done. Don't expect it anytime soon, maybe. And Paul, you got something coming out.
Yeah, speaking of planning a project and working on for a long time, I've been working on a very specific review series for a very, very long time. I call it the Busy Gamer Guide, and the first episode is coming up Tuesday, and it's a look at video games from the perspective of a busy gamer. How these games can kind of fit into your life, if it's, maybe too much, or if it's just right for your lifestyle. And we're kicking it off with Hollow Knight, so check back. Oh crap, it's Monday, so check back tomorrow for the first episode. It's going live.
Got a chance to check out the first episode for Paul. We took a look at that, and I think you guys are going to enjoy this. In fact, I might need to use this guide for my own life. I'm the target demographic, Paul.
It's pretty practical. It definitely has its use.
Really like what you're doing with that. Logan, you got anything to tease?
Yeah, I will be coming out with a new.
You cut out through all of that.
Or you press the mute button.
I'm gonna get a new episode of Smashing Tunes. I'm considering a rebrand, but I'm not gonna stress too much about it.
Worry about that after you run out of weekly blog updates for Smash.
Right? But yeah, it's gonna smash. It's coming. Let's chat.
All right, so make sure to check out all that stuff. Make sure to subscribe. We've been seeing a large influx of new fans, probably thanks to that Nintendo Direct. We're over 25,000 views on our reaction video to that, so thank you all. It's been a pleasure to meet all of you. If you want to chat with us more, even after the show, you can enter our Discord. Server link is in the description. We're pretty much always in there, at least I am, except for like the few hours a day I sleep. Other than that, I'm in Discord. So if I'm there, I'll chat with you. We have a lot of channels. You can find matches to play games online with people. It's a really good place. We got like 50 plus people in there right now. It's getting pretty big.
Growing.
Yeah, so make sure to check all that out. Thank you guys in the chat. We always love that you're here. And then Conman, we need to schedule when we're going to get you on the show. So we might need to talk to you soon. Yeah. So with all of that in mind, we'll see you guys on Friday. Don't break your backs, break in the games, but for now, break time's over.